Alright, in this video we're going to look at a few things: animations, docks, and delays. I got a request from a user about more animations on delays, and they were trying to change the way their icons were coming out of their dock. Well, then I got some more requests about working with docks, so I thought, okay, I can actually, even though I'm skipping a few in here, this one is the next one on the list. Ricardo, I know you requested London Eye. I got something good coming up soon with a KLWP prize challenge. Everybody stay tuned for that. But nonetheless, more animations with delays. Check out what we got going on here. If I press the floating action button, which I've done a tutorial on creating a floating action button, notice we have some icons coming out vertically and horizontally. And if I press this again, they all kind of slide back behind this floating action button. And I say behind because you do want to make sure you layer this stuff correctly. And not only that, so no, this user here, animations with delays, I'm going to cover that towards the end where we can change how these icons slide out. We can delay the way they slide out this way or this way, and then we can alter that way when they come back in, if that makes sense. And then also down here, one of these users, they requested, how do I make these things slide out vertically? So I'm definitely going to cover that here. How do we get these to slide out vertically? We can adjust some speeds. And then the other user requested this. Notice the floating action buttons on the, notice the floating action button is on the left-hand side where it says left. If I press this, it's going to say right. Notice the floating action button jumped over to the right. And now notice my icons are coming out vertically from this side, but it's still coming out vertically. But if you did notice here, the horizontal ones did come from behind the floating, daggone it. They did come from behind the floating action button on this side. So if I press left, check out what happens. It kind of does a little switcheroo on us, but everything is still going to come from behind the floating action button, depending on whether you're left-handed, right-handed, and what side you want your floating action button on. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. Let's cover, first of all, how am I doing the left and the right? Some things you're going to need for this tutorial, the first part at least, are just these two global variables. Some type of on-off switch, remember its name. I called mine FAB, and then I have a list global where I have an L and an R. That's just short for left and right. We're going to have to apply this to some animations as well as some positions of some of our objects or items in our preset. The ICO speed, I haven't even done anything with this yet. This is not changing anything in my preset because I haven't actually applied this global variable. We'll come back and mess around with that in a few minutes. So, now, I don't know, okay, now it is working. Earlier this was not working. I could not touch and actually make this happen. But here's what we got going on here. Let's identify these elements. 4V is going to be this one. 3V is going to be, I'm just going to use my finger. 3V is this guy right here. Backing on up, 2V is going to be this guy here, and then you guessed it, 1V is going to be this yellow one right here. So these are like vertical. 1 vertical, 2 vertical, 3 vertical, 4 vertical. You're going to have to adjust the sizes and stuff like that. Notice these little circles are a little bit smaller than this one. That way they can hide nicely behind the floating action button. Then the horizontals. So 3 horizontal is going to be this one. 2H, 2 horizontal is going to be that one, and then 1H is going to be this one here. Some other things to point out, the on, off, whoops, didn't mean to move that, but the on, off, and touch, all of these things are just part of my floating action button. I've done a tutorial on that, but some things to point out to you are the position. Every single item in this thing, except for this one down here, except for the text, I have to have all of this stuff moving. Watch, if I press left, I got to have all of these things moving when I press this button. Well, if I go down here to the word text, this text right here is nothing but saying that global variable, that list global that I had a L and then I had a R. If the global variable L or R is equal to L, I want to show the word left. Otherwise, I want to show the word right. That's just, now you don't have to put that into your preset by any means. This is just for teaching purposes to show you, yes, I'm on the left-hand side, now I'm on the right-hand side. So notice that is changing that word, though you don't see it right there. You do see it up here. How am I making that happen? Well, I am touching that word. So if I touch this word, whether it says left or right, it's going to toggle that global switch, L or R, and I'll just have it going to next value. Next value means it's going to go from left to right, from right to left. Left, right, right, left. It just goes back and forth between them, and that's all I need it to do there. So that's how I'm doing changing this. Now, how am I actually moving these icons? That's dealing with the position of all of these pieces. So I'm just going to go to 4V, which is this orange one here. I'm going to go to its position, and notice it says bottom left, but more importantly, let's go to the code for that thing. So if GV, L, or R is equal to L, I want the position of this little icon to be in the bottom left, otherwise I want it to be in the bottom right. And I have this exact same code applied to every single item inside of here with the exception of the word text. The text, I just have it positioned, right up here at the top just so we can see it. But everything else, if I just go to another random one, if I go to like 2H, if I come down here to a horizontal one, I go to its position, it's the exact same code. This is what's going to change our position from bottom left to bottom right. So essentially what I have though is every single piece is down here. That's where everything is, but now if I press this, it's going to go over to the bottom right. Now every single item is over here. All of these are behind the floating action button. How do we get them to pop out? How do I make the horizontal piece do all this stuff? Well, now we're going to dive into the actual animation. So I press my button. All these pieces come out. We'll adjust the speeds in a second. Let's go to 1V. Now you're going to have to do some tweaking. Build your icon. I recommend building the icon inside of an overlap group. That way you can, overlap certain pieces. So make your icon however you want, whether it be circles, shapes, font icons, what have you. But what we're going to have to go look at, first of all, remember the position. Every single position is coded the way I mentioned it a moment ago. And now we have to go to animation. So animation, I have this thing animating based on whether I'm triggering this switch or not. So when the switch is on, I want it to scroll. And that's exactly what I have set here. So global switch, I'm triggering the floating action button, global switch I created, and I want to scroll. You can adjust your settings, whether you want this thing to overshoot. Let's see what happens when it overshoots. Notice the yellow kind of pops out. That looks really cool actually. So you might have to adjust that to all of these. I'm going to show you some little tricks there in a minute, but I'm going to leave that one at overshoot just for the heck of it. But notice how these things are spaced nicely. What I decided to do here, my duration, I have them all set for 1 second. We can adjust speeds or adjust the duration later. The speed, I have it set to 100. This speed's going to be 75, this speed's going to be 50, this speed's going to be 25. And this looks good enough for me. Sure, there's a slightly smaller gap here than it is here, here, and here, but all of these are spaced nicely. I'm okay with that. If you want them to be perfectly spaced, you're going to have to adjust the speeds of each one individually. But notice if I come back to, let's go to 2V. Remember how this speed was 100? This speed is going to be 75 underneath the animation. So 75, 50, 25. Something else to point out about all these icons. I have them all going at an angle of 270 degrees. If I adjust this angle and I knock it back to say 195, let's see what happens now. Notice it's starting to come out over here at this angle. So think of this direction as 0, 90, 180, 270. So if I bump this down to like somewhere close to 90 degrees, you're going to barely see it. It's going to be down here somewhere. Watch this. Did you see one of the icons shoot down? Because I have that one. That's the one that was here, this 2V. Now I have it shooting down at 92 degrees. Well, I don't want that. I want that thing to be right there. So I need to adjust this back to 270 vertical. And now if we test this again, everything should be good. You may notice the yellow kind of bounces back too. Notice the yellow kind of shoots back from over here. That's because I did change the way that yellow, the ease on the yellow, I had it set to, what was it, overshoot. So let's test it. Now I got two of them overshooting. I got the yellow and this color here. So they're both shooting behind there. The only reason why you see the yellow is because it's in front of that light green one or whatever color you want to call that right there. So I hope that makes sense. Just a couple of settings you can mess around with. So that was 1V, 2V, 3V, and 4V. Basically, those are going to be, remember the speeds. 1V was 100, 2V was 75. 3V was 50 and 4V was 25. You can adjust those to your liking. You will have to mess around with the speeds to get equal spacing. Now the H's are similar, with the exception of the fact that we do have to do a little bit of coding based on the direction it gets animated from. Because remember, when I'm over here, I want these things to slide from this side, whereas when I'm on the left-hand side, I want them to come out from that side. So that's one thing we're going to have to tweak. Let's go to 3H, which is going to be this green one here. Let's go to Animation, Global Switch, Scroll, same idea. We can tweak our settings. Notice all my durations are 1 second, that 10 for right now. The speed, I had to tweak the speeds a little bit. I had this one going out somewhere around 70, this one somewhere around 47, this one somewhere around 23. And what that does is it gives me pretty equal spacing in between them. Now this one is definitely not as wide, but these are just about the same. Maybe a little bit off, but I'm okay with that. The angle is what we have to be careful with here. Now remember, 0 degrees is this way, 180 degrees is that way. Well, right now, since I'm on the left-hand side, I want these things to shoot out from here and go to the right, which is why I have it set to the following. If GVLOR is equal to L, which means all of my stuff is in the bottom left-hand corner, I want it to scroll 0 degrees. That means it's going to shoot straight out to the right. Otherwise, I want it to shoot to 180. So notice I do have it coming 0 degrees. But now when I do this and I come down here and I look at my code, it now should say 180. A moment ago it said 0, but now since GVLOR is not L, it's going to do the 180 degrees, which is what allows me to, come like that, 180, and then it's going to come back behind that floating action button. So I'm applying that same code, same type of animations to all these other horizontals. Let me go to 1H. So since my GVLOR is R for right, all these are coming out from 180. Here's that pink one. This is 1H, my overlap group, my icon. And notice if I go down here to the code, I'm not looking at that number. I'm actually looking at what I'm getting returned right there. So notice it says 180. But if I switch this back to left, now if I come down here to the code, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at what's getting returned right there. It now says 0. So I hope that makes sense. That's how we can quickly, left-handers or right-handers, creating floating action buttons with docks like this. Can, if you're left-handed, you might want it on one side. Right-handed, you might want it on the other. It's up to you. But that's the big gist of it. Some things to keep in mind. I did mention it. I don't think I showed you really what I did, but notice my floating action button is at the bottom. All these things here, the off is going to be the red, the on is going to be the green. But again, I'm not going to dive too deep into these because I've already done a tutorial on that. Have a look for, I think I called it like a material style as a check box, so to speak. Notice I still got the little check kind of popping up, but it's doing a little bit of different animations. But notice the position of these 3 items. These 3 items are below in this list of stuff, which actually puts them in front of all these other things, all these other icons. For example, if we take, let's see, this is my 4V. The orange one is my 4V. So if I take 4V here, which is the one you see right there, and if I slide this down and I put it on the other side or below this stuff, watch what happens. This one's going to be in front of it. So it's important to layer these things correctly. That's why I want 4V to be behind all this. So technically I can put 4V right there and I'll be just fine. But I'm a little OCD sometimes, so I like to keep my things in somewhat of an order. And as you can see now, we do have all of these pieces going behind the floating action button. All right, now let's have a little bit of fun with this stuff. Let's play around with the speed first of all, since that's the first one that I created. Now, technically, I mentioned here, to not confuse you, I have not used this global variable yet. I'm going to delete it and I'm going to create a new one, and I'm actually going to call it icon dur for duration, and I'm going to make a number global variable, and I'm just going to make it somewhere between 0 and 20. I'm thinking between 0 and 2 seconds, because 10 on duration means 1 second, 20 means 2 seconds. Now, I'm just going to start wiggling this thing around. Notice it goes up to 20, back to 0. I'm going to make it 20. All right. Now, what we have to do is go back into each one of these icons and change the duration to that GV icon dur. Icon dur stands for icon duration. That right there. That's what I have to apply to the duration for these things. So let's go to 4V, go over to animation, and 4V is going to be this guy right here. So if we're going to hit a duration, now we can't apply global here. I wish we could, but we can just type it in. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to tap on the calculator, and I'm going to type in GV icon dir, or whatever you called it. Now notice it's returning a 20 because that's what I have it set to right now. I'm going to select all, I'm going to copy this thing, make sure you check the checkbox. And now, watch what happens. Notice how much slower that one is because it's taking 2 seconds. See how slow that is? Now, if we come back and apply this to all of our all of our icons, notice I remember I did copy and paste. So I'm just going to come down here to my duration, go to my calculator, and I'm going to paste the icon dir into all of these. So that was 4V, 3V, here's 2V. We can do this actually rather quickly as long as we have this thing copied and pasted. And then once I do this last one, 1V, let's go to animation, scroll, duration, and let's paste it there. Now, all these should slide out somewhat the same, but remember how I had these eases set and stuff like that? Well, we're going to mess around with that too. We're going to have a good time with that in this video. Why not? So, what do I want to do here? Let's test it first of all. Okay, notice how much slower they are. Even the yellow shooting out is a lot slower. All right, let's go apply those icon dirs to the horizontals. So I still have it copied, so I'm going to come down here, go to duration for all these things, and I'm going to paste them in. So that's 3H. Let's go do 2H. Duration. And let's do 1H. Now what I'm not going to do in this video is I'm going to leave these speeds where they are. The speeds, you can apply globals to that, but I have that spaced to my liking. You'll have to tweak those. But something else we can have a good time with, well, first of all, let's just go ahead and save this. Let's go back to globals. Let me do one more thing real quick. Let me go to 4V and let me go to that animation. I mean, we can really change the way this stuff animates. Okay, I had it set to, oh, it's 1V. 1V and 2V are the ones that I had the overshoot on. So let's just set this back to normal, not inverted by any means. Inverted will invert your animation, so to speak, but I'm going to let this stay. In 2V, let's put this back on normal as well. All right, let's save this. Let's go back to globals, and we're going to go to, well, I'm going to go to home screen first. So notice 2 seconds for that to happen. 2 seconds for it to close. And I don't have anything overshooting anymore. Remember, I just took those overshoots off. We're going to tweak that right here in a second. Let's go back into our globals. Let's knock this down to like half a second. 5 for duration is half a second. If I save this, go back to my home screen, and now watch what happens. See how they animate out much faster? But it's still kind of like a boom, and then it's done. But if we apply some overshoot or some bounce to this or whatever, we can achieve something even better. But, you know, that's starting to look pretty good. That speed looks like a nice speed. And by us going in and coding all of them with icon dir, we can change all of them with just a simple switch of our global. Now watch how fast this is going to be. Bam. Bam. You know what I'm saying? The only thing you might say that's a little bit slow now is the actual animation of the check mark that I have down here. But I'm going to let the check mark be. Again, I've done a tutorial on that. So again, if I knock it back to 10, this is going to be, you know, a little bit slower, but there we go. Now what else can we do with this? Let's go to globals and let's make a new list global, and let's call it, I'm just going to call it effect because I forget what the heck it's called inside of the animation, but you can call it whatever you want. And let's apply overshoot. Let's do bounce. And what was another one? Oh, what the heck? I'm going to just roll with these for right now. I'm going to go back. Let me go look at one of these things. Let me go to 4V, animation, scroll. I'm talking about this ease here. So bounce, overshoot, normal, straight. We can do inverted. Heck, I'll just type them all in there. I need to remember these. Normal, inverted, bounce, overshoot, straight. I'm not going to remember that. So to edit our list, I'm going to tap on that check and go up here to edit. So another one was normal. Then we have inverted. Make sure you type them in exactly how you see it. And then we have one more that was straight. And the reason why we need to type them in exactly the way we see it is because it's going to apply this actual word to it. And I think this is going to work. It should work. Was that all of them? I think. I don't know. It's like you can, I'm waiting for you to answer through the freaking computer. But nonetheless, here we go. Let's apply bounce to it. And let's go over here. And now we have to go back into each animation. And we have to edit our ease. But remember, I did call this GV effect. Notice I did name them all like this. I don't think it has to be case sensitive, so we should be okay. Let's do GV effect. Notice it says bounce. And I'm just going to copy. I think this is going to work. Before I go any further, yep, notice, did you see it bounce? It's bouncing. It's bouncing. Booyah, I like it. All right. So let's go and apply. I copied that code, so let's go to 3V, animation. We're going to speed on through this. Two V. One V. And now let's go do the same thing to our H's. Did I save that? Yes. And now, by us doing what we just did here, whoops, by us applying the global from that list to all of these things that I'm doing here, and now instead of, yes, a little bit of grunt work on the first part, on the fore end of it, but now, you know, it's just a matter of us. Let's save this. Let's go have a look and see how our animation looks now. Now we got a nice bounce going on for all of these. And what's cool about this is that now that we've used globals, I hope if you're just getting into KLWP, globals are your best friend and when you want to change multiple things at one time. Let's do overshoot. That's going to change. They're not going to bounce now, but notice it did overshoot. And that's going to overshoot down here and back here as well. So you'll see them pop out like that. Yeah, pretty cool. All right. Now when we mix that and then we mix speed into all of this, you see how, I mean, this is a totally different look to the way it did at the beginning of the video. And all it is a little bit of tweaking and applying those globals to our you know, icons, each individual one. And there's one more thing I want to show to you here. I'm going to keep that down around 5. Let's do a delay, okay? So basically we want these things to come out kind of one after the other, and we don't want them all starting to animate at the same time. I'm going to do the following. I'm just going to call it delay. I'm going to do a number global variable, and I mean we can delay it as much as we want. I think going up to 10 is going to be plenty. I do keep it at 0 because sometimes maybe you don't want to delay, but basically what delay is going to do is we're going to delay. Let's suppose we want the yellow to come out first, and then a little bit of delay before the blue, and then a little bit before this one, and a little before this one. This is going to create a totally different effect too. Now check out what we got going on. Overshoot, but they're all kind of coming out and overshooting at the same time. Well, this is going to create more of a little wave effect, so to speak, if that makes sense. I'm going to apply my delay. Let's just make our delay 2. But here's what we got to do here. We got to remember the order of our icons. We got to do a little bit of math here. Now I don't want any delay on the yellow. So the 1V, no delay whatsoever. I want it to come on out. Okay? The 2V, I want it to be a little bit delayed behind the yellow. So I'm going to go to animation for this 2V, and I'm going to come down here to delay. I'm going to apply code, and I'm going to do GV delay. Obviously, I don't want to do GV effect, but I just wanted to copy the GV stuff in there. Okay, so that's going to delay it whatever that number is in our code. So it's going to be delayed a little bit behind. Now, I want this one to be delayed behind this one. So now, let me copy this code. Whoops, that's the wrong. Don't want to get rid of that. I need to come in here to my delay and make sure I'm getting the right code. All right, a little bit of math for you. We don't want to apply the same delay to this one that we applied to this one. I want this one to come out first, a slight delay before this one, then a delay for this one that's behind that one. So what we have to do here is we have to double our delay, so to speak. Well, what we can do there with that is we can go into our, what's this going to be, 3V, the purple one, animation, go down here to delay, paste, and we just want to double it. And basically my delay was 2, well this one's going to be delayed 4. So it's going to come out, 2/10 of a second, so to speak, behind the second one that come out. And remember, the second one that comes out is 2/10 of a second behind the first one. So this is going to increment in whatever our delay is times 2. What's our next one need to be? Not times 4. This one needs to be GV delay times 3. It's going to give a nice effect. You're about to see it right here in a second. Okay, not 1V, I need to go to 4V. So animation, and go down here to its delay. So let's take 3 times this. So notice it was 2, 4, 6. I don't know if you noticed that. This one's 2, 4, 6 in terms of delay, and this one's not delayed at all. So watch this little effect that we're going to have here. You see that? Now, boom, 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 boom. See that? But notice what's happening. Maybe this is where I'm going to come in here and apply these same delays to the horizontals. Then I'm going to talk about how we can fix it, because this is what the user wanted. They wanted the delay like this, but then when it closes, they want the orange to go down first, the purple to go down second, this one, and then this one. So basically they're going to go out the opposite way that they came in. The orange one's going to be the first one to go out, whereas right now you're going to see the yellow one be the first one to go out. And that's going to look better. It's going to give a nice effect. Well, we can accomplish that, but before I do that, let me just go ahead and apply this same code to the pink, blue, and green. So I'm going to go to 1H. That's going to be the pink one. And go down to delay. Now what's going to happen here though, you're going to see a little bit more motion for a little bit longer on this side. Since I have 3 icons here and 4 icons here, there is a way we could actually accomplish that to where they all kind of start at the same time and end at the same time. But for now, I mean, I think this is what I'm trying to accomplish and show you here is plenty to hopefully entertain you and help you out and help you apply some things to your own wallpaper. So now I'm at that blue one in the middle. I'm going to go to its delay. And I'm going to double the delay. So 2 times. Okay. And we're going to have to come right back in here in a second, unfortunately, and change all these codes a little bit, but not much. And then I need to come down here to not 1H, 3H. That's the green one that you see there. This needs to be 3 times the delay. All right, let's see what we got going on here. See what we got going on there? And like I said, you're going to see a little bit. Hold up. This was 1 delay, 2 times delay, 3 times delay, 2, 3. This one was, okay. Oh, I know what I did wrong, which it doesn't look that bad. But, okay, let me go back here and check 1H real quick. 1H. Did I have any delay on it? Yes. Okay. Well, actually, I like the way this looks because what it did, I actually applied a delay to this one, which is going to make it kind of sync up with this one. So really, they are going to essentially start and end at the same time. This yellow is going to pop out before any of this stuff pops out because I did apply a delay to this. If you recall a little while ago, I didn't apply a delay to that. But notice the yellow kind of, watch, the yellow pops out before anything else does. But that's pretty cool. I mean, it kind of keeps these three in sync with those three, so to speak. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now, how do we accomplish this next thing? Yellow comes out, then this one, then the purple, then the orange. Well, when I press this, I want the orange, then the purple, then this one, then this one. Well, we're going to have to alternate our delays because that's not what's happening. So here's what we're going to have to do here. Boom, boom, boom. So now I'm going to do, let's focus on the 1V. Basically, the delay that the orange has when it comes out, I want the yellow to have the delay when I cut this switch off. So here's what we're going to have to do. I'm inside of this one. Okay, this had a, what? Delay, 2 times delay, 3 times delay. So I want this to have 3 times the delay when I close, when I cut my switch off. So here's how we're going to accomplish that. I'm going to go to that 1V animation and I'm going to go to its delay. And I am going to apply the code to this. Remember, I don't want it delayed when it opens. So here's what we're going to do here. If we cut the switch on, and our switch is GV fab, so if GV fab is on, we don't want a delay. Otherwise, we do want that delay, and we want that delay to be 3 times GV delay. That's going to give us the same delay for closing, and I forgot a parentheses in here. It'll be all right. Now, watch what happens. This is going to show you exactly what we're trying to accomplish. The yellow is not going to fly right off the screen now. Notice it waits a second. You see that? But now, since my GV switch, let's go down here to this code and make sure we understand this. When I cut my switch on, I don't want there to be a delay. So I want that yellow one to pop out immediately. But when the switch is off, because that condition here is not going to be met, we want 3 times our GV delay. That's what's going to make, first of all, yellow pops right on out at us. But now when I do this, notice the yellow is going to wait a little bit. Bam, that's exactly what we want. So we have to apply this same type of stuff. Okay, let's think about this. So this is going to be 3 times delay. This needs to be a 2 times delay when we cut our switch off. So this is going to be 2V, animation, scroll, delay. This is what I want this to happen when my switch is on. So I'm going to leave that stuff there. I don't need my dollar symbol. If GV fab is equal to 1. And I think you can actually leave off the equals 1. I think it automatically checks for it to be on if I'm not mistaken. But when the GV fab is 1, I want it to do exactly what it's been doing over the last few minutes. Otherwise, I want it to be 2 times GV delay. All right, I don't need that. I do need a parentheses. Okay, so now watch what happens. This one's going to go out before the yellow one. Boom, boom. It's going to look real nice once we get all these other ones synced up. So now let's come down to 3V, animation. And what do I want this one? So this is, when I'm closing, this is 3 times the delay, 2 times the delay. This just needs to be delay, or 1 times the delay. So I'm going to come here to delay. This delay that you currently see here is the code I used a few moments ago. That's when the GV fab is on. So if my GV fab equals 1, I want to use that GV delay times 2. Otherwise, I want it to be just GV delay. All right. And then last but not least, we want this orange one to go out immediately. So I need to go to 4V, that's the orange one, and I need to set its delay to 0 when my switch is off. So this is what I want when the switch is cut on, because I want it to be the last vertical item that comes out. So if GV fab is equal to 1. I want it to come out last, but when it's off, that means GVFab's not going to be 1. I want the delay to be 0. And I think we have accomplished the vertical. All right, orange, yep, sweet. Now the yellow's going to come out first, followed by this one, followed by the purple, followed by the orange. Now it's going to reverse on us. The orange will go out, then the purple, then this one, then the yellow. Boom, 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 boom. Pretty cool, huh? Now let's apply that same junk to the horizontal. So one horizontal. This one did have a delay. Remember how I talked about how these 3 here will sync up with these 3? So this needs to be, this was 3 times delay, this is 2 times delay. So let's go down to delay. This is what I want to happen when the fab is on. So I'm going to do if GVFab equals 1. That's what's going to happen when it's on. Otherwise, I want it to be, what was it? 2 delay. 2 times GV delay. That's what's going to happen when the switch cuts off. All right. So 3, 2. Now, and then when I come to this light blue one, which is going to be 2H, animation, scroll, delay. I want 2 times the delay. Make sure this is right. Yeah, 2 times the delay when it comes out. So if GVFab equals 1, I want to do 2 times the delay, and then otherwise I want it to be just 1 times the delay or just GV delay because we're just multiplying by 1. And once we get all of this stuff finally finished, we got to code one more. All these global variables that we have created here are, you're going to be able to totally change the way this thing looks, even though you got the same type of icons and everything going on. So last guy right here. So when we first do it, when GVFab is on, we want 3 times the delay. Otherwise, okay, make sure I'm doing this right. Yes, okay. If GVFab equals 1, if it's on, we want 3 times the delay. Otherwise, we don't want a delay. Now, this is going to look a little bit different now that I'm sitting here thinking about it because it's the whole 4 icon, 3 icon deal. All right, when they animate out, I think I got this set up right. These 3 animate the same as these 3 when they come out. When they come back in, notice the yellow's kind of animating back in by itself. If and the reason why is because basically I have these, and these doing the exact same thing in terms of delays. So the yellow is kind of doing its own thing by itself when it comes out and when it comes back in. Now if we come in here and we start really messing around with this thing, okay, everything's set and it looks nice. It looks totally different than the way it did when we started off, in my opinion. If I set this to like bounce, I set the delay up a little bit more. Let's see what happens with that. So the duration is going to be half a second. It's going to bounce, and we're going to have a delay of half a second between each icon. Check that out. Totally different. You know, this is when it would look nice to have 4 icons both ways. I could easily come over here and add an icon, but hopefully you get the idea there. You know, we've applied multiple globals to quickly allow us to adjust the way our icons are working. And then again, let's make sure it works nice over here. Sweet, I like it. Well, there you have it. That's big overview in docs, delaying animations, customizing global variables in terms of speed, and you know, moving things from the left to the right. And that's it for this video. Hope it helped.